Hello and welcome to episode 3 of V8's Racing, where we're trying out the Ferrari V8's. So let's get to it. So this episode we have the Ferrari F430 Scuderia, and just like the previous 360, this is a more track orientated car over the 355, which was very much a road going car. Very good looking car though, I have to say. So let's hit the track. Again, you can see a stripe down the centre, very similar to the Challenge Stradale's stripe, but a little bit more modern twist. Got bigger alloy wheels. Coming around the back, we've got a nice 2 exhaust system set up on the back here, with a nice sound. Again, Ferrari know how to make a good sounding car. So let's give this a try. So away from the start, we've got more power and less weight than 360. Let's try it on the first corner. Doesn't quite want to drift quite yet, but we've got the rear end just there. Second gear, try and get some power around. Right, okay, so the rear end, once the rear end goes past a certain point, that's it, it's gone. Doesn't quite seem as quite controllable as the 360. As you see there again, once we get to a certain point, it's not coming back. So let's try and get some power down, let the rear tyres cool a little bit. Go through here, a little bump, got a little bit of four-wheel drift there, the front and the rear drifting at the same amount. Turn it in here, still using second gear through this corner. Nice switch back, but again we're losing a lot of speed as the rear end gets to a point where it just doesn't want to come back. Bit too much curb there. So like the previous car, this is the more track orientated version of the car. If we actually go back, before the 355 we had the 348, and the 355 was almost like the facelifted version of the 348. The 355 then became the 360, and we didn't do that car, we had the CS, or the Challenge Stradale version of it. And then we went on to the F430, which we don't have. We have again here the Scuderia version, which is again the more track orientated version of the F430. So the F430 was almost like a facelifted version of the 360. Onto the back straight, a slight graze of the wall, but not too bad. Let's have a look inside. We have less of the garish red dressings throughout here, but standard affair for a stripped out Ferrari. Carbon door panels again. So going down the main straight, we'll get on the brakes. Quite a tricky corner because you don't want full brakes, but you don't want no brakes at the same time. But the car holds a nice line through there. Front end, even better than the 360. The front end just follows wherever you want to go. The rear end, not as controllable, but that may be the increase in the power of the car. Through onto the banking, and then we'll drop down. Bump there again, not making too much difference. We can hold a good speed throughout there. Getting on the brakes quite hard there. Rear end comes unsettled a little bit, but that's all very controllable. As you can see now, we're actually taking third gear through this selection of corners. So we're seeing as the generations go through, we get more power, more grip. We can hold that higher gear there. I think even on the 355, those corners there were the second gear was too short, third gear was too long. Braking down here, again we're using third gear here instead of second gear. Just controlling a little bit of oversteer, down into second gear here now, just so we can keep it nice and tight. Rear end wanted to come around a little bit, just slight corrections there. Through this we've had lift off there, that bump now is starting to cause a few more problems, the rear end getting quite unsettled there. Very nice through that corner, and then we've got to spot this apex of the chicane. Over we go. Bumps, kicked out the rear end but controllable. And down the start finish line. We've got good power in this car, so approaching 150 miles an hour, almost up to 160. So I've put up the fastest lap time there, so I am going to do another lap, see if I can improve it, but as I've watched back this video, I've actually found out this was actually the fastest lap. Now, if I go on to things that I dislike about this car, so coming from the 360 to the F430, the V8 sounds great. I'm not saying it doesn't sound great, but I would say it doesn't have as much character as the 360's V8. So for me, this is very much tone, same tone all the way through the rev range, whereas the 360 had kind of a character, a change throughout the rev range. The sound would change almost, whereas this is almost the same tone from 2000 RPM all the way up to 9000 RPM, so it doesn't quite have as much character. I also find that the balance it feels, whereas the 360 was very neutral, this feels a bit more rear end. So once the rear end goes, the rear end will go, as you've seen in the warm-up lap. Once you get to that point, it's gone. It has gone. There's no recovering it back. So coming out of the second gear corner there, power down, cross this little bump, quick change up to fourth, not too bad, back down to third. Rear end wants to get away from us, sliding on the front end there, a bit too much pace through the corner, inducing a bit of an understeer. Took a bit too much curb there, and the car's become unsettled there. Managed to get it back into a straight line, but I know we've lost time on this lap. So this just goes to show that maybe this car isn't reproducible every time round. So let's go on to the next one.